Hola mis amores, welcome back to Brew, a podcast where I talk about the magical and unmagical lessons I am learning in my 20s via dark humor, messing up, a little angst, and most importantly, talking shit. Grab your choice of brew and join the coven. Today, I have a couple drinks with me that I'm probably not even gonna have. I have the bisexual trio. I have my Hello Kitty. Look at this mess. I have my Hello Kitty water bottle. My Cane's sweet tea. And my Dutch Bros. We're not gonna talk about it. But hey y'all, I have missed y'all so much. It's been a minute and I'm gonna catch you up a bit on why it's been a minute, but stay tuned. Okay, so let me start giving you context. You're like, Maria, you always tell us you're going to be consistent and you disappear. Well, baby girl, I disappear because life comes at me fast, very fast. So let me tell y'all what's been going on. So last time I posted, it was like about the end of April, maybe a little before April. And you know, the end of the semester started. I had to wrap things up. Finals were approaching. I was unemployed. You know, I was job searching at the same time. And how do I say this? My relationship of almost 4 years also ended. So give me some slack, y'all. Give me some slack because life has been lifing right now. And I'm not really going to get into the relationship aspect. I want to respect everyone's privacy. I might speak about it in a future episode, but just things didn't work out, you know? There's no beef, there's no hatred, there's just love. And yeah, that's as much as I'll say about that. But for today's episode, I've been working on this. So let me tell y'all, this episode was already recorded. I just needed to edit it. But life happened and then I feel like the episode was just too old. Like, the person I was when I recorded that episode is no longer a version of me that I identify with. So here we are trying again, and let's get to it, shall we? So I'm sure you've read the title. Today's episode is Weaponize Your Anger. So I was a very angry kid, but before I even get there, here's the thing about anger. I feel that all of us are very much so justified on being angry about so many areas of our lives, okay? You grew up poor. There's resentment there because it's the natural thought of, why couldn't I be better off with more money in the house? Like, why did we have to go to get food from the church or depend on our neighbors to have each other's back? Like, why couldn't I live in the neighborhoods that I would go trick-or-treating with because I already knew they were better than where I lived? You know, there's that. You're like, why didn't I grow up in a 2-parent household? Why did I have to see my single parent like struggle? That one itself, I almost want to do a whole episode on, because growing up with a single parent is hard on the parent, but it is also on the child. And I think a lot of people don't really make that connection. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like duh, like, oh, there's a parent that's missing there that's in the picture, you know. But I'm saying this not to cause drama, because I am very grateful for my mom and everything she did for me. I just wish it would have played out differently, because as an adult, as a grown woman, you see your mom and you're like, your mom is a girl too. Like, she's a girl's girl. Like, she was also worthy of a love that was reciprocal, and having so many things that just weren't part of her life as you grew up. So that, I think, on its own is going to be a whole other episode, because I'm still like processing that. And as I'm getting older, I'm just, you realize your mom is just a girl. So we'll put a pin on that one, okay? And then another thing that causes anger for us is, why did that traumatic thing happen to me? You're like, out of all the people this could have happened to, which is not really ugly. What I'm about to say sounds really, really ugly. But when you ask yourself, not even in a selfish way, but in a very human nature type of way, you ask yourself, why did this happen to me? Why didn't it happen to someone else? Why do I have to carry that cross? Why do I have to carry that burden? These are very real questions that people kind of like shame you into believing, oh, you shouldn't think like that, like people have it worse than you. But you kind of think to yourself, well, I'm not those other people. One. Two, what I'm going through is rough in my person. Like, I'm also not going to invalidate what happened to me either, because someone else has it worse. I think as humans, we want to make that connection of like, oh, but someone else has it worse. But you are not someone else. Your truth is your truth. Your trauma is your trauma. Your pain is your pain. You know what I'm saying? And I'll get into that one a little bit more, like, further down the episode. But what do all these things have in common? So all of these things cause anger to the person, because you're like, why did I have to go through this? And I think it is the easiest thing you can do in any situation is victimize yourself. But I want to challenge you with this episode to take a different approach. Weaponize your anger, where, yes, all of this shit happened to you. It was traumatic. It was awful. You didn't deserve that. But what are you going to do about it now? Like, use that anger and do something about it. So let's get into my bullet points here. Let's start from the beginning, okay? So for me, my anger started really young. It makes a lot of sense now that I'm older. And then as you see me, you're kind of like, she's kind of an angry kid. But hear me out. So from the very beginning, I grew up low income. I grew up from a single parent household. I kind of touched on that and how that kind of affected me and how I see things on that. It's quite natural to want both parents. A family, like the idea what a family is in pictures and movies, you're like, why can't I have that too? So I just had a lot of resentment growing up. I don't think it helped that I've always been really emotional, and that led to a very funny and I feel like inevitable path, which was my emo phase. But let me get into that in a bit. So I was a very angry teenager, because I feel like childhood is usually kind of neutral. It's kind of good. It's kind of memory. And then you start seeing that things don't add up, right? And for me, growing low income, single parent household, and being told that because of my background as a Latina, as a low income single parent household, my neighborhood, that I was more statistically prone to failing in life, I just became a very angry teenager. And I think, and also when I was growing up, that emo pipeline was way too easy. We had Tumblr, we had emo angry music, and I was introduced to My Chemical Romance, and oh my god, that just skyrocketed so many things for me. And it's just so, it's funny to think about it now, because bands like My Chemical Romance and Pierce the Veil, like they are categorized as bands that you're kind of like, oh, it's whatever, like it's just a phase, right? It's just like a phase in your teenage life, like you'll get over it. But I feel like we do a really bad job of validating, no, we do a bad job in not validating teenagers' like feelings and emotions, because a lot of the anger that teenagers have, and when I grew up especially, is just from a place of hurt, a place from being misunderstood, that I feel instead of seeing them as like, oh, you're a weirdo, or like don't talk to me or whatever, it should be more given attention. They should be given more attention to like, why do you feel depressed? Why do you feel bad about your life? Like, what's going on at home? Are you okay? How can I help you? And I say the weird, why are you a weirdo, like in like asterisks, because I was a weird emo kid. I'm not gonna get into details, but I'm just gonna say a lot of people in the emo community went through a unicorn phase, and I will not be elaborating on that. But if you've known me since in middle school, I am so sorry. But my anger just kept growing as a teenager, because you start to be exposed to other areas. Like, oh, you realize sexism is a thing. You realize machismo is a thing. You realize that just so many fundamental things in our life and in our systems and how the world works is really fucked up. So of course you get into you become angry, because you're like, why is life like this? It is not fair. Oh, and by the way, if you don't follow me on Instagram at diosa_mars, this is the My Chemical Romance tattoo I have. I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but I got this My Chemical Romance tattoo because I just wanted to validate the anger, validate teen Maria, that yes, life is rough, but you just keep going, you persevere, you become resilient. There's beauty in that anger and that sadness, depression even, because there will always be a way out, you know. And this is a band that I've listened to since I was 12, and even when I become angry today, I still tune into My Chemical Romance and Pierce the Veil and all of these like bands I grew up with, because there's a sense of validation that you're not crazy and that you don't feel okay, but that you can make something out of it. And I love that. So I was a weird emo kid, but I am so grateful for the people I met during that time, the experiences, the music, that it's nice to have this tattoo to kind of remind myself, like, you'll be alright, kid, you know? But where does weaponized anger come into play here? So I was a very angry teenager, as I explained, but what I ended up doing is that I used the anger that I was experiencing as a young kid, and it made me reflect, like, you know what, I want more out of my life. I don't want to be part of a system where I am expected to fail because of my background, because of my gender, because of just what makes me me, you know. I want more out of my life. I would demand more out of my life. So that was kind of like the foundational where I started to implement the weaponized anger, because I could easily victimize myself and be like, you know what, I'm expected to fail. Statistically, I'm expected to fail, so I'm going to just give up here. But I did not give up, because I was like, why? Because if you're not the one giving it your all in your life, no one else can do that for you. Your parents, even though your parents work super hard, they can't do your life for you. No one else can do your life for you. Like, I hate this so much because life becomes so overwhelming sometimes when you realize you are the person that has to get your shit together. You are the person that has to do the hard work, because if you don't do it, no one else is going to do it. And you know what's more fucked up about it? If you don't do the work, no one else is going to do it for you, and they will actually exploit you and take advantage of you for not putting in the work to put those boundaries and those people-pleasing tendencies and those bad financial habits. Like, it fucking sucks that that's what the reality is. But again, my question here throughout the episode is, what are you gonna do about it? The next one, y'all know already if you've been listening to me long enough. Another thing that has made me really angry in my life has been having really shitty friends. I'm not going to go too deep into this one, or so I think. I'm not going to get in deep into this one, but a place of hurt for me has been having shitty friends. Why? Well, let me tell you. The summary here is the friends that I grew up with who said they were going to be there for me during the worst time of my life. And then when the worst time of my life actually happened, you know, with hospitalization, mental health, they all dipped. They ghosted me, they blocked me, they talked shit about me. And that was very traumatizing because I had never felt so alone. And that fucking sucked. It sucked. Like, you can go back to my first couple episodes and I really go deep into that, and I kind of mention it here and there. But having your support system give their back to you during your worst time, when you gave them your all and during their worst times, it's a very humbling experience, but a very dehumanizing experience as well, because you're really like, wow, I don't mean shit. I am nothing. And it's not because you don't have friends, right? But it's because it's that betrayal of trust of, you were supposed to be there. You told me, you gave me your word that you were going to be there, and you are not there. And you made me believe that I was not worthy of a friendship or of having that like trust between a human. Like, the beautiful connection that humans have where they have each other's back is really beautiful. And just having that taken away with no closure has been one of the most traumatizing things that I have experienced. But what did I do about it? My experience with shitty friends weaponized my anger of that experience, and a very beautiful thing, actually. It radicalized how I experience love now with other people. Let me explain. I choose to love despite everything, and no one can take that away from me. Even though I've gone through shitty experiences, I've been with shitty people, both friends and romantically, like, choosing to love despite all the shittiness, despite all the betrayal, despite the trauma, is my most radical way of weaponizing my anger, because not everyone is a shitty person, and it's hard to find people that are not shitty. I'm gonna agree with you with that. But as I've gotten older and I've have built up my group of friends again. It's been a very beautiful thing to witness that, you know what? Real people exist. Real friends exist. And I am worthy of having friends. I am worthy of a love that's so wholesome and pure and genuine from strangers that I call my friends, and they show me that every day. When I go through my lows, they're there supporting me. When I go through my highs, they're there cheering me on. And had I just stayed angry about having shitty friends, I would have not gotten to experience that. And I don't know who I'm speaking to right now, but if you are in a phase in your life, if you are in a chapter, a season in your life where you don't have friends, you don't have a support system, it's hard to make friends. You're making friends, but they tend to be they're actually like shitty. And don't give up, because what has been so healing for me is learning to love myself. And even when I don't love myself, finding people that see me for me, and even more, like having the friends I have in my life, they speak into me so much growth and good things and good blessings that even I don't see for myself sometimes. And I pray that you find that group of friends that has your back, but don't give up, because I don't think we are meant to experience life alone and by ourselves for everything. I think that community is so important. If you can't receive community from family, make your own family with your friends, you know. And I am so happy I didn't give up, and I pray that you don't give up either, because true love is out there, and you deserve to be loved and embraced for who you are, challenged to be better than where you're at with love, you know? So, what I will say though, before moving on to the next one, is because I have lost friends, people in my life, been betrayed, I now know in a way kind of how to move around certain people. You kind of pick up the patterns of what are the red flags, you know. So you're gonna develop that intuition, that discernment. So this is all not for nothing. I promise you, you're gonna have your own back when it comes down to it at the end of the day. Don't let these people walk all over you, but trust, you'll find your community. Another source of my anger has been shitty work, shitty jobs. ¿Cómo te digo esta parte? I think I have learned a lot that job, I can't even do the grammar right on this. What I'm trying to say is, what I have learned in all of my years, I've worked since I was 16. A job is a job. A job is there so you can pay your bills, get your stuff, and go. I feel it's a little different for me now, because the job that I have gives back to the community. But a job is a job. And I say this because I have dealt through shitty situations in a lot of my jobs that I feel no job is excluded from that, you know? And the job that kind of, in a way, like radicalized me to do something about it, I used to work at Galleria making smoothies. And that was one of the shittiest jobs I ever had, because not only was the pay like what, like $7.50 an hour, and I would work 12-hour shifts sometimes. But customers, if the drink was too watery, the customer would throw the drink at you or be like, make it again, I'm not gonna pay for this, or some dumbass shit like that. And besides that, it was so shitty because it was one of the jobs I had gotten when I was like freshly out of the hospital and kind of like reintegrating into society and learning how to like fend for myself. So although it was a really shitty job, because I had lost so much, I thought I couldn't get anything else. I couldn't do anything better. So when I experienced harassment at that job and I spoke up about it, my manager laughed it off. So that kind of contributed to my depression, because I'm like, this is so shitty. Like, oh, at one point in my life I was like a college girl and doing all these things, and now I am making smoothies and being treated like shit from clients and coworkers. Like, what do I do? And what clicked for me there is that complaining about it every day isn't gonna do anything about it. Me complaining to management about shitty things that were happening to me wasn't being addressed appropriately. So I decided to say, fuck it, let me go back to school. I enrolled in HCC, did the paralegal program, and just did little by little. I just got my shit together, because if I'm gonna complain about working minimum wage and not getting anything out of it, not growing from it or whatever, then do something about it. Like, and even where I'm at right now, I've had the privilege of working at offices, and some offices were nice to me. I'm just gonna say that up front. They were not nice to me. I felt undervalued, underappreciated, underpaid, and you know, when the time came, no one gives a fuck. And that pissed me off, because it's like, oh, poor me, pobrecita la niña que no la tratan mal, blah 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 blah. No one gives a fuck. And what am I doing about it? As y'all know, shit happened, shit hit the fan. I had to search for another job. I had no choice but to search for another job. And now what? I'm now today, this year, I should be, primero Dios, I should be finishing my bachelor's degree, and then I'm gonna do the goal of going to law school eventually. Like, I complained about shitty jobs, but my weaponized anger here is, this sucks, but I'm gonna do something about it and get a degree out of what I want to do and study and help people. And that's what I had to end up doing. So how would I incorporate it here for every day? If you don't like your job, leave it. And I feel like that's such a privileged standpoint for me to say that from, because I do have the benefit of like my mom helping me out where I'm at right now as I graduate. But no job is worth your mental health. No person is worth your mental health, you know? So if it means that you have to leave your job and go somewhere else, and you can do that, do it. If it means getting 2 jobs to get out of a situation so you can get a better job, do it. If it means taking night classes at a community college to get a degree or a certification of something so you can move up, do it. And that's so easy for me to say right here, right? But the thing is, we can complain about shitty jobs, and we are all victims of capitalism at the end of the day. But you have to play the game, unfortunately, you know? So, and for me, unfortunately, playing the game is a very expensive route of school. But you don't have to take the expensive route either. There's so much, and my friends and the people in my life that I know, a lot of them didn't even go to college, but they're doing so well that kind of like, one, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm proud of you. And number two, it's, if you want to make something happen for you, like your own business, your own vision, you can make it happen. You don't need a piece of paper to validate it. But if that's the route you have to take, that's the route you have to take. And it's a difficult route because I am 26. I am still in school. I have a full-time job. I, at one point, was in a relationship, so I had to manage all of that and still have a social life and everything. And it's hard. It's hard. I'm not gonna tell you it's gonna be easy, but what are you gonna do about it? Are you gonna just stay there at your shitty job and complain all day, or are you gonna do something about it? Literally, the question for this video is, what are you gonna do about it? Okay, this one's gonna be fun. So another source of my anger has been shitty men. Go ahead and grab a drink for this one. Go ahead and grab some snacks, because where the fuck do I begin? This is gonna piss me off just speaking about it. But before my last relationship, I had very terrible luck in relationships, okay? I was a single girl. I'm a single girl now. Fuck. I was a single girl, and I was on all of the dating apps. Don't ask me why I'm banned from Tinder, but I was on all of the dating apps, and the men were dogs, and I hear today that they're still dogs. So that's so scary for me, but not the point. It was a really shitty experience, you know, because it's one thing to be single and be like, you know what, I'm going to be sexually empowered and do what I want to do. But it's another thing to be dating people or going on dates, if you even fucking call those dates, with guys, and them giving you the false promise, the false promise that they're going to give you a relationship and y'all will do something, be something official, and then when they sleep with you, they fucking block you and ghost you. Because all of you wanted to do was fuck you. I'm just getting angry all over again thinking about it, because that happened to me so many fucking times. And there was one case in particular that fucking made me be like, wow, men are fucking dogs. Horrible people. If you're a man listening to this, but this doesn't apply to you, then don't wear the shoe, baby. It doesn't apply to you. But for those that it applies to, listen up, because I'm still fucking angry. There was this one time I met this guy on Tinder. I was single. Keep in mind, I was freshly dumped from my group of friends, so I didn't have someone to be like, hey, is this someone I should avoid? Some might argue, Maria, it's common sense to not want to date someone that has a child, a toddler at that, and that when they tell you they want you to be the child's stepmother, even though you have only been with him on one date, that it's a red flag and not a flattering thing. And that, you know, because why would he use that as riz, and why did it work? And then I still asked myself, why was I blocked afterwards? And why I felt betrayed, because this man really used the vulnerability that I had shared, that I don't have a close relationship with my family, so it would be cute to have my own family one day, and then him saying, well, I have a daughter and I don't have a family, so it'd be cute if we would be a family together. But then again, the story always comes down to, after you sleep with the man, what does he do? He blocks you, ghosts you, unmatches with you, and then you're left like a pendeja. Pendeja. So let me tell y'all, that was one of many stories, and I dread dating again, just because men can be so shitty. And that was just during like my single dating phase, you know. Then there was this one person who I will give props to, because him and I, it didn't work out, but he apologized to me saying, hey, I'm sorry it didn't work out. You're a really cool person. I wish you the best. I'm sorry if it came off that I was using you. We just didn't work out. But like, I really wish you well, and I apologize if that's what it looked like. And that kind of like, in a way, radicalized me too, because it was the first time a man had apologized to me for doing something shitty that, one, I never expected the apology or asked for the apology, but it was like, oh shit, I'm a human being with feelings and emotions too. I'm not just a piece of meat as these men have been treating me. Oh shit, him apologizing to me about the lack of relationship that him and I ended up like not dating. It acknowledged my humanity and that I was a person despite everything. And that's when I was like, oh shit, what the fuck? Yeah, like that was shitty of you. Yeah, this is what I'm experiencing here in my single pre my last relationship experience was shitty. So what do you do with that anger of men are treating me like shit, my singleness is shittiness? What do you do about it? And I'm not going to touch on my previous relationship today. That will be on the back burner if I even address it. But because I've had shitty experiences with men in the past when I was single, my weaponized anger to all of that now is going to be decenter men out of your life. And this is kind of new to me. One, I was so used to having a partner. Like, my relationship with my ex was almost 4 years. And it was really nice to have a person, you know? But as I enter this new phase in my life, single Maria, who is 26, will do things differently and decentering men out of her life, because she is valuable as an individual. She is whole as herself. She does not need another person to complete her, because she is complete in herself. And that to me looks like decentering men and growing my relationships with my friends and the people that I love, because there are so many experiences that I can have with my friends, right? But even outside of that, I want to, all the love that I was so used to giving to my previous partner. The question here is, now, how radical would it be? How much could I change if all of that love I gave it to myself? You know, like, What would it look like to date myself? What would it look like to take myself seriously? Take myself out on dates, invest in myself, invest in my education and my career and my personal goals and my dreams and my aspirations. Like, what does that look like when I don't have the limitation or having to depend on someone else or having to wait on someone else for you to do things, you know, like for yourself? And it's a little nerve-wracking, I'm not gonna lie. I think it sounds beautiful in theory, but in practice, that's gonna be the challenge. But the weaponized anger of my bad experiences with other people when I was really younger kind of like makes it okay. Again, the question, as I told you, is what are you gonna do about it? Well, the same thing will apply now. I'm going to build myself up, grow in myself, and not make men the center of my world and my attention, because life goes on and life isn't going to wait for you, and shit happens. And yes, there are shitty men that exist, but because I am full of love, I believe love is out there, you know? And thanks to my previous relationship, where I experienced how beautiful love can be, it showed me that love exists. It's just that you should, this, and I'm speaking here from my personal experience, the love of your life is going to be yourself, like first and foremost yourself. And you should love yourself more than someone else, because you are your world. So I feel like incorporating all of that, and this phase now is going to be interesting, because I don't know what it looks like to choose myself, prioritize myself. Because for so long, I don't know, this might sound like really dramatic, and I might be like fucking crossing a line here, because I said I wasn't gonna talk about it and I'm not talking about it, but I blame my people pleasing tendencies. But all I'm gonna end in that topic is, being a people pleaser has affected me in various areas in my life, both friendship, romantically, and other relationships, types of relationships. So weaponized anger in this area of my life, in this phase of my life, is choosing yourself despite everything. If you're someone that is going through something, like recently single, because apparently everyone I'm speaking to just got out of a relationship, I think y'all know that I love vision boards. Make a vision board, and don't have relationships, romantic relationships on that vision board. That would be my challenge to you. What does your vision board look like when you are in the center of it and it's not centered around men? Let's try that out and let me know in the comments or in my DMs, abruhabru or @us_mars, what difference that looks like, how different that looks like, and how that makes you feel. Because after I did my vision board again, I was left almost shocked, because you realize really that, well, this can be vice versa, but you realize you either have the same goals or you kind of put a lot of your own personal goals and aspirations on the back burner, and it's so freeing to see yourself dream again. I want to talk about one more thing before I let y'all go, and that's about human nature, okay? Because a lot of this weaponized anger comes from what your perspective of human nature, like your weaponized anger is derived from what you expect human nature to be. And my question for you is, so if you don't know what you think human nature is like, the question you should ask yourself is, are people better at creating things or destroying things? And here's my take on this, okay? I think that people are really good at destroying things because it's easier to destroy things than to create things. Think about it. In the most simple of terms, it's so much easier to push a Lego set that's constructed, that's built, than to build up that Lego tower or whatever. So think about it. What does that look like when you bring it to yourself? I think that as humans, for a good amount of us, it's quite easy to build another person up. I like to think that we have a kind human nature in that aspect, but oftentimes that's not really reciprocated to ourselves. O sea, I can build you up, but am I putting that same intention and passion and aggression to myself? In a way, that's kind of where that weaponized anger comes in, because since you yourself are willing to build someone else up, be that kind person to that stranger, do this and do that and go that extra mile because you're kind and that's your human nature, it becomes so fucked up and traumatizing even when you find out that other people are not like that. And that's where that anger comes in, because it's the principle of things of, I wouldn't do that to you, so why did you do it to me? You know? But that's why I feel that reverse psychology, that you should use reverse psychology in weaponizing your anger instead of using it against you. I'm gonna read from here because I want you to get this. Let the anger you feel make you demand more out of your life. Let the anger show you that you are worth more than what you're dealing with, more than your trauma, more than the shitty experience that you were not deserving of experiencing. Weaponize yourself with your anger and don't take shit from anyone. You are literally such a radical being. Your existence is a miracle if you think about all the possibilities of shit. And life can be shitty and you're gonna get angry because shit is unfair. But what are you gonna do about it? Are you gonna play the victim or do something about it? Literally, let your anger motivate you to be that bitch. Get shit done. Cause you are that girl. Okay. Besito. Well, that basically wraps it up for this week's episode. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sticking by. I love catching up with y'all. If you wanna follow me on my daily shenanigans, follow me at my Instagram at diosa_mars. You can follow the podcast at brew. I'll leave all the links down on my show notes. And as you know, if you're listening to the audio version, leave 5 stars. And if you're watching me on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And comment what you're gonna do about your anger. Okay? Because we are not gonna be victims this 2024. I want to hear what your plan is. Well, that's it for me. Love y'all. Besitos. Mwah.